beauties, Shaz here with another to buy or not to buy video. In these videos I talk about new makeup that has either released or is about to release, and I try to talk myself out of buying anything on camera. I don't need any of these. I'm pretty sure I can dupe them because I already have a whole lot of makeup. If that sounds good to you, give this video a thumbs up and let's jump in. Well, I don't have coffee, I have some tea, and the candle today is this giant spiced pumpkin that I had bought from TJ Maxx. I love doing pumpkin year-round. Beauties, the purpose of these videos is not to spread hate on any influencer or any brand. This is my response to the insane consumerism that's happening out there and all the new products that are launching. A single human being does not need to buy a palette every week. And because of that, this video is gonna sound a little hyperbolic, meaning I'm gonna exaggerate a little bit. It's for entertainment purposes, and hopefully I can inspire you to use the makeup that you have instead of spending more money on makeup that you might not need. But of course, it's your money. If there is makeup that's releasing that you absolutely love and you definitely wanna buy, and for some reason I mentioned that I'm not gonna buy, I am happy for you. You should go buy that if it makes you happy. So with that said, let's get started. Seems like Blind Bunny is about to drop something new, and I'm pretty excited about that. Let's talk about Black Cat Society from MBA Cosmetics. This collection is supposed to have multichromes, duochromes, and high shine metallics for $42 if you want to get it with the palette. I'm not in the market for new stuff unless they add a lot of value to my collection, so passing on this. But if for some reason you want to pick it up, you can get 10% off using someone's code. And then Nomad Cosmetics all of a sudden with no pretext drops this. Of course, nowadays being on a low buy, I'm more in the mood to dupe things, but even then it's exciting to see color stories that other people are coming up with, because it's the creativity that I enjoy. And I know one of you mentioned in my last Buy or Not to Buy's comments that you get excited by the color stories, and I do too. I love seeing these color stories, but it doesn't mean I'm gonna need to buy every single thing. And beauties, I forgot to mention for today's video, I'm using my dupe of Vamp Palette from Bella Beaute Bar, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Because I still don't have an empty magnetic palette, the dupe is in front of me on my desk. But you all know what I'm talking about. The video is already up. I'll tag it here for you all. I also like the Chicago speakeasy kind of theme, although I'm trying to figure out why that green makes sense for speakeasy. Yeah, I can't place why, but if you know, let me know. And the color story of this palette is interesting and is different from a lot of other things I've seen, but I'm pretty sure I can dupe this. Also, the color story is not different enough to grab me. It has a lot of neutrals. Frankly, if you remove the greens, it looks very neutrally. Beauties, if you notice, the last Buy or Not to Buy that I posted was videoed some weeks ago, maybe around 2 or 3 weeks ago, because I got sick for a while. I thought I had, the disease from 2020, but it wasn't that. I got tested and it was not that. And then some other gigantic bomb dropped on me. I got laid off from my job. Now, it wasn't a hostile layoff. They essentially told me that the role was going to get sunsetted. First they said it's going to move to another geography, but now they don't even know if they're going to keep that role. So they gave me a couple of weeks to wrap things up, and yesterday was my last day. And because of that, I was not in a mood to make videos. I like to be authentic when I come on here. I don't want to act like I'm very happy when I'm just not. And I'm still in the process of coming to terms with it. And I know it is something that's happening in the tech industry pretty much everywhere. And I know I don't really talk about myself and what I do and my life as much. I don't think anybody's interested to know about that on a channel about makeup, which is part of the reason why I haven't been talking about myself and what I do. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because of two things. First, this is something that is affecting a lot of people who are working. Well, I mean, I work in the tech industry, and this has been literally happening for the past 2.5 years. So definitely impacting people like myself, but it's something that is affecting a lot of other people as well. Some of you have been telling me in the comments that you have not had a job for months, and that might be me in a few months, which brings us back to how much we're spending on makeup. Do we need all of these things? Is this a smart thing to spend on? Maybe I'll make a separate video about that. If you're interested, write it in the comments below. Let's get back to the makeup. Divina is releasing a few things. They have the Twilight Whispers collection that's been revealed on Deandra Irene's, she's the owner of Divina, on her channel on YouTube. And the collection itself is also releasing on Divina's website on the 6th. These are some beautiful, beautiful single shadows, but I have a lot of singles and I do want to prioritize using the things that I have. It seems like Glamlight has collabed with Coca-Cola. I feel like I'm desensitized to the stuff Glamlight drops anymore. I just swipe past them because it's all just collabs. They look like a cash grab. I mean, I'm excited that this one is not with another spooky movie, but a lot of these collabs are also looking very similar. This one, the palette, looks very similar to their Betty Boop palette. Do you need both? And I think a few other palettes. You don't need both. Yeah, stop duping yourself. Notoriously Morbid has happy release days. Releasing a whole lot of stuff. Yeah, it seems like this is just perfume oils and a couple of shades that are beautiful, but I don't need. I'm swiping past. I mentioned 7 Elysian Sins a few weeks ago. That was sort of announced from Mecca Beauty Shop. Now we have them. Here they are. And this photo is definitely done with a filter. It's very difficult to know what these actually look like because I wouldn't be surprised if I have dupes for these. They're beautiful, but I probably have dupes. Beauties. I have like 600 single shadows. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if I have 600 just like shifty ones. So I might have dupes for this, which is why I'm not buying anything. Also, I'm not buying anything because no money's coming in right now, okay? Actually, the other thing I was gonna say was because of this thing that happened, I decided to go on a no-buy October. I'll make a video talking about my no-buy October. Let's talk about this one because this is the one. One of you all asked me to dupe this, which is why I duped it. The video dupe is already up. This is a beautiful palette, but the color story looks like a lot of other palettes that Bella Beaute Bar has. One thing that I've started seeing is brands duping themselves. And I don't want to buy dupes of things I've already bought from brands. I almost feel like they take out some of the shades from their past palettes and make a new palette. Maybe I should make a video about this. Brands that dupe themselves and that they have a lot of palettes that are 60% more or less the same shades. Again, beauties, remember, most people cannot see that marginal difference in a lot of these shades from an arm's length, from 4 or 5 feet away, because it's just going to be on a small patch on your eyes. So the red here, is that going to look too different from the red in this one? I don't know. And then I know I mentioned in another one of my dupe videos that this Bejeweled palette is a dupe for another palette that Bella Beaute Bar released. That's the world we're living in. It's taken over by consumerism. Is that the best thing for your pocket? Do you need every single one of these products? Okay, let me get started on the eye look. I'm gonna start by using the Glamshop primer. And yes, beauties, I am wearing 2 different nail polishes on my nails. I'm testing my Mooncat nail polishes. And now that we're talking about Mooncat, they recently had the Falling collection, and I've been looking at some of the videos out there of this collection, and some of the shades in there look beautiful, but I have done a lot of nail polish purchases this year, even just from Mooncat. So I passed on that. Also, of the different brands that I've tried, Cadillacquer to me looks a lot more special than Mooncat. Mooncat is definitely gorgeous. It's just Cadillacquer looks more unique. Also, I like to try newer brands because I feel like I keep buying from the same nail polish brands. But this is what I'm wearing on this hand. This is Pixiestick, which is a beautiful, beautiful sort of holographic kind of a shade. You can see it on my nail. And then this one is Boa Constrictor, which is a holochromatic brown shade. While the primer is drying up, let's talk about Celestial Charms from Beauty Bay. Beautiful palette, friends. When I saw this one, I was like, I want it. However, does that not look so much like this one, which is Age of Opulence, which released 2 years ago, I think, from Beauty Bay, and I still have it. I understand a lot of people don't have this palette, so it makes sense if you don't have this one to go buy that one, but I already have this one. It is missing a few shades, like some of the mauve shades or that lilac purple shade, but as a whole I feel like this is pretty similar, and I can complement this with a couple of singles to get the same palette effect. So if you have this one, you don't need that one, and I know a lot of people who have this one have kept it. They've also released with this one a mini Charms 9-color palette that looks like an all shimmer palette of light shimmer shades, which I think would be great for the holidays, but again, I have a lot of stuff, so not for me. But Beauty Bay is generally pretty reasonably priced and their quality is very good. Give Me Glow has released Lilac Vibes, which looks like a 2-pan blush highlighter duo palette. $24. That's a lot for me, particularly that I don't really use that much highlighter or blush. Talking about blushes, Wicked Widow Beauty also released a blush. This evidently is their first cream blush, which has a purple hue. I interestingly kind of like blushes with a purple hue, but I don't need anything. Mora Cosmetics has released, or is releasing on the 10th, Serious Sparkle Liners. Not bad for $9 a piece. That's drugstore price. They have it in 14 shades. I love the glittery liners from Urban Decay, and those are the ones that I own, and I don't need any new ones. But this is a good time for releasing these kinds of things because these are kind of glittery and shiny and great for the holiday season. Let's get started on the eyeshadow. I've mentioned in my past videos that I like to try new techniques, and we're going to use just a jumble of different brushes. This one, I'm going to first go into this purple shade with a fluffy brush and blend it across my crease. I'm going to use a smaller headed brush with this red shade and put it here, and also bringing this red under my lash line. Okay, I think I'm good. One problem is that I got a little bit more red over there, whereas I don't have it on the other side, but you know what? It's good. I don't know if people would even see that. Let's continue with this one from Jolie Beauty, the Spellbound palette. Didn't this release before? I feel like I saw this palette last year. Is this a re-release of something, or is this a new one? And I mean, the palette is $57, which honestly, with the prices we've been seeing nowadays for that many shades, that's not a bad price. But I wonder if it has some glitters. It does look like it could have some glitters, like the shade Voodoo. I'm pretty sure I've seen this before. I even feel like I've mentioned in the past that Voodoo looks like a glitter. Why am I having a deja vu? I feel like I've mentioned in another video a year ago that Voodoo looks like a glitter shade. Oh well, not for me, and the whole bundle is $381, friends. No, you don't have that kind of money. You don't need metallic liquid lipsticks for $20. You don't. You don't. Move on. This one from Byredo, nice grungy palette, but I do feel that some of those green shades could have been different. They look a little bit too similar. I feel like this palette could have had a lighter shade. And this one from CXC Lab, I like the color story, but this is computer generated clearly. I think I can dupe this palette. This is a nice color story for the fall. We mentioned all different kinds of nail lacquers. There are two things I want to talk about. First of all, the one that I already bought. And I bought this. I knew I would buy this. I just never came on camera in the past couple of weeks for the reasons I mentioned to tell you all that I already picked up. These from Cliona. So a Halloween bundle of 13 full-size nail lacquers and then a smaller one with 5 small nail lacquers, and like that wasn't enough, 9 new addition to their stained glass collection. I picked all of that up. I will make a video just unboxing it. I know some of you are gonna tell me that I was on a low buy. My low buy, if you all remember, did not include nails, and it was an impulse purchase, a bad one, but it was an impulse purchase. Although I could have used my Q4 budget of $200. I had a quarterly budget of $200 to use on eyeshadows. So I could consider using that budget for this bundle. My low buy is over during Thanksgiving, but with the situation with my job, we have to see if I have to extend that or not. And another nail lacquer set that has completely captured my heart, but because of the situation with my job, I'm now wondering if I should even consider this. I would have bought it if I still had a job, is this one. And this one is from Cirque Lacquers. This is the Delusion collection. I don't own anything from Cirque Lacquer, and I even thought maybe I could just pick one shade up, and if I were to do that, it would be the green one, the deep green one with the pink multichrome in it. I don't have anything like that, and it looks just delicious. I love that kind of color combination. I also almost want to do an eye look inspired by that color combination. And then this release from Alter Ego, it's called Mist Haven. It looks like one of the palettes from Huda Beauty. Was it the Grunge palette? I think that was the name, which dropped last year. Continuing with the look, I'm using E01 from Singe into this deep blue shade. And I'm deepening out this outer edge. Beauties, if you watched my color theory videos, you know that blue and red give you purple. So because the background of this look is purple, I'm not bothered by possibly getting purple in this area. And I'm using that red shade to blend this a little bit. And I'm using E07 from Singe with this burgundy shade. And I'm gonna deepen out my lower lash line with it. You can just blend your lower lash line with a clean brush. There are a few options I have for the color to go across the lid. You all know how much I love all matte looks. So one thing I could do is just use Vine. If I were to use Vine, because it would blend into these colors and could muddy up or turn into a different color that I don't want, you have a few options. You could use a glue base and tap it over the glue base to mask. That if that doesn't work, you can always use some form of a concealer. Do I have a concealer here? I had a concealer here. I don't know what happened to it, but yeah, you could use a concealer to conceal sort of a cut crease and then go over that. We're not going to do that because I want to use some of these shifty, sparkly, gorgeous shades. Let's use Chasing Comets from Terra Moons. This is such a beautiful shade that has all kinds of shifts. Unfortunately, you can't see the shifts. You can watch my video, you can see the shifts and the swatches in that video. And I'm using the red to cover this edge because I want that red shade to show. Like, it is supposed to be inspired by sunset, particularly sunset in Austin. I'll put a photo up. Normally with this kind of a look, maybe I would do a light cream shade in my inner corner, but don't want to do that because I wanted to do matte, and this is the only matte, but this shade in my inner corner I don't think would look very good. I think this is not light enough for my inner corner. Let's talk about this one. Beautiful packaging. Do you all want me to say this? I'm a little bit over the over-sexualized images on beauty products. I used to be a gamer as a child, and I was already over seeing this kind of things in games, but definitely not in an industry that's mainly catered to women. The colors in there also look nice, but a little neutrally for me, particularly the bottom row. Did you all see that shade? Yes, there's a matte black, and so no. Also, I'm pretty sure I can dupe this. Beauties. I saw this from Melt Cosmetics. I think it's a collab with Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, or inspired by those. I don't even know if that's not an IP, right? I don't know. But that is the inspiration. I still haven't gotten over the experience I had with the Halloween Town collection that I bought from Melt, that I've only used once in this channel. I used it in a to buy or not to buy, and that was it. I have never used it again, so I'm not going to go buy more stuff from Melt, particularly that the prices are not that economical either. We have Beautylish collabing with Chikuhodo, which is a brand of brushes I will probably never be able to afford. With this eye look, I feel like this shade would go for the cheeks. And I'm gonna use this one, F21 from Colourpop. This palette is pretty pigmented, although the pans are small. And you know what? I realized I'm not bothered by the fact that the pans are small because I don't really go through blushes that often anyway. And a little bit on my nose. I'm going to use this one from Colourpop. I think this would go with this eye look. It is a little streaky, meaning it sticks to some parts versus some other parts. The same issue I had with the Mexico lipstick in my last to buy or not to buy, except that that one was liquid and this one is not really liquid. This is kind of like this. I'll put the details in the description box below if you like the way it looks, but keep that in mind. And now that we talked about Colourpop, let's talk about this one, which other than that shimmery red, this palette looks so boring. If you remove those two reddish, burgundy-ish shades, the palette looks extremely boring and neutrally. I know for a fact I definitely don't need this. I don't want to offend anybody out there, so maybe you need this. Maybe you don't have this in your collection, but I could dupe this 5 times with just my singles. And before I get lured into picking something for the lips up, because I love doing that. You all know I have chronic chopped lips. I'm gonna scroll on. Also, I don't really watch Stranger Things, meaning I've never watched it. I understand that it's one of those alien type of movies, and I'm not an alien type movie person, so I just never had an inkling to wanna go pick something up from a franchise I don't really know much about, and I'm not getting some of the references like the waffle or the milk carton. But if you're a fan, I understand that this is probably for you. Let's also talk about the Pat McGrath holiday release, which is already available. That giant palette doesn't attract me. The smaller palettes don't really attract me. I think at some point I like to try Pat McGrath just to see what the hype is all about. If I don't want to pick up palettes that are mostly neutral from much more economically priced brands like Colourpop, I clearly don't want to pay a hand and a leg for the same kind of palette from a much more expensive brand. But totally understand and respect if you're a huge fan of Pat McGrath, you might be interested in this. I'm happy for you if you're finding things you're interested in, but I just don't want to spend $76 on something I'm going to use once. Now, this one is absolutely gorgeous. This is Calavera palette from Gourmand Girls. It has 25 shades and it's $65, which for that many shades, I think that's a good price. I have used Gourmand Girls and I thought the quality was pretty good. But on a second thought, this palette looks like it leans very pastel and I don't really do pastels. So skipping, and let this be our last one, Wet n Wild's collab with Hello Kitty, which looks extremely light for my skin tone. These shades are never going to show up on me. And I know one of you said, isn't the no makeup look supposed to look very muted? The no makeup look, if it's this muted, is not going to show up on my skin. When you have eyebrows and lashes that are very dark, these colors are just not going to show up on me. A pink that light, from my perspective. Maybe I've done a lot of deep looks and I'm getting a little bit desensitized to those lighter shades. Maybe I'll try it in this channel and you all be the judge. Actually, let this one be our last one, which is a giant palette from Ciate, London that looks like something from the 2019s. This palette looks like you could easily remove 8 shades and not lose a whole lot, if anything. Yeah, I don't know why we're traveling back in time to 2019, but I'm seeing a lot of palettes that look very similar from palettes from the olden days. Oh well, beauties, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, as always, write to me in the comments below if you managed to talk yourself out of buying any makeup this week. I love to hear from you. I love you all. Have an amazing week, and until next time, bye.